Their mission is to stimulate local economic growth by providing outstanding employment, education, support, and training services. They are Rochester Works. They have been around for 15 years looking to increase the economic vitality of our community. Antoine Williams is the Director of Youth System Services for Rochester Works, and Theodore Jordan Jr. is the Youth Service Manager as well. Glad you could join us, guys.
Thank you for having us.
15 years. I remember when Rochester Works first popped on the scene. I did an interview with the folks when it was in its infancy. Wow. And here we are 15 years later. Now, Rochester Works does supply an array of services for folks young and old. And I'm not going to ask you to get into everything that is done by Rochester Works, but let's kind of give a quick description of what Rochester Works is as a body.
Well, Rochester Works, we are a trainee employment agency. So basically anyone who is looking for employment opportunities, we encourage them to stop at any of our 3 career centers to go through some of our workshops and learn some, valuable resources that could, get them connected back into employment.
Now, it's called Rochester Works, but it's not just for people in Rochester. It is a Monroe County, all over the place kind of thing.
It's for anyone living in Monroe County. They can come in and receive services free of charge.
A lot of services being offered. We're going to hone in on youth services today. Do you deal more with kids than adults, or is it what's the ratio in terms of looking for job services, looking for jobs for folks in town?
It's a pretty good mix. With youth services, we focus on assisting individuals who are 14 through 24. And we do have the services broken up for those who are in school and those who are out of school. And then we also have the adult services. So we see a number of clients in our centers on a daily basis.
Let's start with 14-year-olds. I didn't get my first job till I was 16. Why are we focusing on kids so young?
If we can start the job search skills early, we're hoping that those skills will translate later in life and that they will have the skills necessary to compete in today's global market.
And how does that search begin? How does that training begin? Do kids think they want a job at the age of 14, or do you have to bring them in to get them interested?
No, they want money.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They want money. And so Rochester Works, in collaboration with the city of Rochester, we've joined forces, leveraging resources in order to provide summer employment funding for youth between the ages of 14 and 20 still in school.
Yep. Are we looking for kids already for summer employment?
The summer program will kick off with the application going live on February 20th, and it will be open through March 24th. And again, that is for young people between the ages of 14 and 20 still in school or into a task or GED program.
And that is the 20th is 2 weeks from tomorrow. And so it's Monday to Monday to Monday. And that's how do these kids find out about what you have to offer? I mean, again, we're talking about starting with 14-year-olds who, as you say, are looking for money, but they don't know how to go about doing it.
Well, I think the first thing they can do is go to our website, Rochester Works, or they can go to the other website, summeryouthemployment.org, and apply online. So first, we need them to apply. Yeah. We need them to turn in some supporting documentation so that we can qualify them for these services. But just to backtrack a little bit, we're just now in the process of reviewing proposals submitted for summer employment programs. So once we figure out which programs we will fund, we will then share that with the young people at the provider fair.
So you have to have the jobs before you can give them the jobs.
Correct.
Yeah. Do you find that businesses and folks in the city are willing to step up with jobs? What kind of jobs are they?
When we put out our RFP, we were asking for community partners to partner with us as it relates to something in culinary, information technology, entrepreneurialism. We have a lot of things that they can do in landscaping, agriculture. So we have a wide gamut of jobs that they can apply for. We also have a direct placement component where we actually partner with local businesses where we can actually send someone who's 16 to 20 to be an extra set of hands working with the business. And they've done things as far as reception work, things with marketing. They've worked in the hospital setting. So it's a number of different initiatives that they can partake in.
And one thing I like to add is so through the partnership with the city of Rochester, we will employ roughly 700 youth through this process, but over 3,000 apply every single year. So
you don't automatically get in.
Correct. Correct. There is a process. And but back to the employer piece. So right now we're subsidizing a lot of these positions for 6 weeks.
Okay.
And that's just due to, funding. So with a lack of and 3,000 kids, we could definitely use more employers to kind of step up to the plate to assist us with this process.
There has to be a real trust piece here. I mean, these employers have to be able to trust that you're going to get the best of the best. And the kids that get these jobs have to trust that they're not going to be just plain old fill a spot jobs. I mean, these have to be somewhat meaningful positions to give them the desire to keep pushing forward, right?
Well, we've modeled our process of that of the real world.
Yep.
So there's a process that the young people must apply. They must turn in their supporting documentation. There's a mandatory parent orientation. There's a provider fair and or appointments that is needed. And so when a young person do not follow through or forget one of those steps, it automatically kicks them out of the process.
Oh, okay.
So 3,000 becomes 1,500 real easily.
That's well, you got to get the best of the best. You got to get the ones who are definitely committed to starting their career, because this for many will be their first job, if I'm not mistaken. And how important is the first job? It's important to have that be a meaningful, non-disappointing kind of situation.
It's a very important process, and we don't just put the young person in the job and leave them. We actually have monitors that go out and that will work with the young person and also work with the program to make sure that it is a seamless process. We also connect with our providers who will be the employers for the summer, and we put them through a mini training to kind of help them understand the type of young person that they will be working with, because for many of them, this will be their first job, their first work experience.
We are talking with the folks from Rochester Works, the youth services aspect of things. He is Theodore Jordan Jr., the youth service manager of Rochester Works, joined by the director of the youth system services, Antoine Williams. How did you guys get involved in this?
Wow, where do I begin?
Yeah, you're from Rochester?
I am from Rochester. I actually went through the summer employment program back in '98.
You did?
So I went through the program, and then when I was in college, I actually ran programming. And then when I finished college, I connected with the funder, Rochester Works, to monitor the program that I once ran, that I was once in. And from there, it's just been a trajectory. So six promotions later, now I'm the director.
Is that meaningful when you're talking with some of these kids? Do they listen? Does it resound?
I love telling my story because I think sometimes there's a disconnect in terms of what how young people view us. And I think they need to realize that we too were once, their age. So been there, done it, and with some mentoring, guidance, coaching, all things are possible when we can provide the young people with opportunities.
Been there, done it, and succeeded, which, is a big part of it, of course. How about you, Theodore? How'd you get involved here?
I was one of the original employees with Rochester Works 15 years ago. And then I worked in a number of different facets, from business services to adult services to youth services. And then when Mr. Williams was putting together his team, we partnered to become the dynamic duo to help move youth services to where it is today.
You don't make him call you Mr. Williams, do you? I mean, you seem like a perfect team for each other. You play off each other, and 15 years. So you were there from the first day.
Well, I was there, but I left and came back.
Yeah.
So it's been a very good place to be and to work.
And he's older, by the way, so.
The website is rochesterworks.org. I'll tell you, it is quite the website. I mean, it touches upon everything, We are focusing on the youth side of things. How do you judge your success in this program? By kids who you think may struggle in the program who succeed, by sheer numbers? What is the thing that brings smiles to your faces?
I think a great thing that we can talk about is when the programs put together their RFP to work with our young people, there's a final project that the young people will do. They'll have a portfolio, and or they may make a tangible product. And so it's always rewarding to go into the 6th week of programming and to see the transformation that the young people have made from day one, to see how they have worked together, to see their finished product, and to actually see them talk about how their lives have changed as a result of being in the program.
In addition to that, so going back to the numbers, we will employ roughly 700 to 800 young people. And but over the years, we've held a high percentage in terms of retention rate. We're looking at anywhere between 94, 95%.
Wow. That's
for those who start, a lot of them do make it to the very end.
So many people hate their job. I mean, let's face it. Some people, they get up in the morning, they go to work, they can't wait to get home, and they scowl and everything. But, you have to make these kids realize that the job's fun. Certainly it's necessary. But, you got to kind of get that whole attitude of work is where it's at. And that may not be the easiest thing to do sometimes if some of these kids have parents who don't like their jobs. You know?
It's interesting. Every now and again, I do come across an individual who will share with me that they didn't like their job. And my response is good, because now you know what you don't want to go to school for.
Yeah.
I remember when I was in college, I can rattle off a whole bunch of names of individuals who changed their majors, 4 or 5 times because they didn't know exactly what they wanted to do or had or been exposed to, different options.
Theodore's raising his hand. You did that?
That was me. I was one of the ones who changed my major 4 to 5 times before I found my niche as to what I want to do. But I agree with Antwan that every experience, you can learn something from it. Whether it's positive or negative, you can still take something from that experience for your next experience.
What did you want to be?
I originally wanted to be a lawyer. Until I realized I couldn't win an argument. So that was not a good fit.
That's great. The sign-up period begins February 20th. Yes, and that's 2 weeks from tomorrow. And that is all through rochesterworks.org?
Yes.
Yes. And when you start the process between the ages, as you said, 14 to 20, what kind of information do you have to have ready?
Well, it's a simple online application. It can be accessed from any web browser, whether it's a tablet, a smartphone, or a computer. So you can go to our website, rochesterworks.org, or to summeryouthemployment.org, and it's a simple application that you have to complete. After the application is completed, we'll give you a printout for your next steps. And the next steps would basically be bringing in the supporting documentation, which would be photo ID, a signed Social Security card, and a most recent report card, and also something for you and your parent and school administrator to sign off on.
And this is going to result in probably your first ever job interview leading up to your first job. You find kids are nervous when they come in, or are they excited? Are they ready to go? I mean, first job, gosh, kids today are so different. They just seem to have an attitude about themselves. What do you see them? Are they just anticipating?
I think it's all the above. Definitely you get those who are excited because perhaps they've been around folks who've they watch, go through the interview process versus those newbies. They may be the first, the oldest in their family going through this. And so, but we're there to, walk them along the process, give them the guidance and whatnot. And 9 times out of 10, they do better than what they had anticipated.
Antoine, let me ask you this question, because my son is 30 now, but I saw him grow up through the first parts of the job search and out of college. Am I wrong in thinking that some kids today feel a sense of entitlement, that they are owed a job, that they're waiting for the employer to come to them rather than them going to the employer? Do you see that?
No question about it.
And what do you do about that?
From the young people and sometimes the parents.
Yeah.
But again, I go back to we have a process is that of the real world. And so, employers are only going to hire those who they see are a fit for the position. So based on first impression, based on dress, based on, your resume, your experience, that's what you're going to get hired for. Anything less than that, it's a competitive world out there. And so when I used to teach the job readiness training class, I used to tell folks, look to your right and left, because these are the folks that you're in competition with.
So great, yeah.
So again, it's a process. It's competitive. Just because you apply, just because you turn in your supporting documentation, does not guarantee a job at the end.
Does it take failure on the kid's part to see that, or do some say, maybe you're right?
Yes, and so when the parent orientation, when we hold the parent orientations, we encourage the parents to have that conversation with the young adult. So in the event that someone is not hired, rather than come to Rochester Works and complain about that, really it's a teachable moment.
Sure, absolutely. And a lot of kids don't learn from their parents. They go, "What do you know?" So they come in and they get some. I don't know if it results in tough love, but they get a little touch of reality.
Yes.
Yeah. Great. All right, well, I want to tell you again, the website is rochesterworks.org, and I'll give you guys a chance. If I missed anything, you brought more notes than I have. I may have missed something here. If you want to jump in, now's the time.
We definitely want to encourage as many young people to apply as soon as possible, and also to turn in the supporting documentation. we are going to have a mandatory provider fair where the young people who have completed the process will be able to come and to interview the employers to see who would they like to apply for a position
That's
for.
a pretty unique situation.
And what we're doing, young people are being invited to the Blue Cross Arena based upon a first come, first served. And what that basically means is the first ones to turn in their supporting documentation, they will be the first ones invited to one of the 4 sessions at the Blue Cross Arena.
Great.
So again, if they can go to the website, complete the application, turn in their supporting documentation, they will have a good chance of being invited to the provider fair where they can actively compete for one of our open slots.
Before I forget, in terms of eligibility, it's twofold. So to be eligible for a city slot, one must reside within the city limits. To be eligible for a Rochester Works slot, one must live within Monroe County and meet income guidelines, which is the 200% poverty income guideline. So, but behind the scenes, we just ask, we'll figure that out. We just ask people to complete the application to the best of their ability, and then we'll figure out which position they're eligible for.
Is it fun for you guys?
I often ask myself, I often say I get paid to do this.
That's great.
Because I enjoy what I'm doing, so it does not feel like work.
And I've been in the game for 13 years, so I'm still at it.
and as both, 2 men who came through the program, that's got to be the most satisfying part of all. Hey, I'm glad you could come in. I wish you the best of luck during all this. Keep us posted.
Thank you for having us. Pleasure being here.
Great.
Having us. Pleasure being here.
Great.
Having us. Pleasure being here.